Thanks for tuning in to the Medevac podcast, powered by the Robert Irvine Foundation, whose mission is to support and strengthen the physical and mental well-being of our nation's heroes and their families. I'm one of your hosts, David Reid.
And I'm your other host, Christian Meyers. Thank you very much for joining us today on the Medevac podcast. If you're new here, there's a price for the show. You have to share it with a friend or family member if you get something out of today's episode. And by golly, you're getting something out of today's episode. We have a gold medalist Paralympian.
A gold medal man himself.
A gold medal man.
The golden boy.
Yeah, the golden
That's
boy.
what my wife calls me now.
Well-deserved, well-earned.
Thank you.
Yes, it is.
Jason Tabansky returns for the third time on the Medevac podcast. If you haven't heard his first two episodes, it's going to be 25 and episode 71. You can go back, listen about his background, where he comes from, the nature of his injuries, making it through all that. And now, after all that, he's won gold at Paris.
Yeah. Now we get to talk about the fun stuff.
Yeah,
Yes,
dude.
the fun stuff. And highly encouraged to go back, check out the episodes, because the story is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, it's even insane that you got an opportunity to be in the Olympics because you were straight up banned at first.
Oh, dude, it's been, I guess, one of those things where my life has revolved around probability that goes wrong, and then I don't get opportunities that all of a sudden turn into opportunities. Yeah. And people are like, oh my God, there's this awesome story of what happened in this. I'm like, where were you guys when I was going through absolute crap?
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, the whole thing started back in 2021 when I was set to go to Tokyo, and I was feeling really good, shooting the best, and then I got suspended for something that was out of my control, something that came out in one of my doping tests that completely out of my control, but we fought it, won, changed the world when it comes to doping and that certain, what do they call it, metabolite. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a lot of people have gotten restitution for it. They've changed the way that thresholds are set and everything. So
nice.
Something positive out of a negative.
Can you talk a little bit about the specifics behind that?
So it never got published because we felt that there was no need for it to go public.
Sure.
You know, conspiracy theories and all this other stuff play into it. I have friends that are saying, oh, yeah, you know, the Russians and this and that. But no, I tested positive for a long-term metabolite of a steroid called Turinabol, which I took in Afghanistan, not in a steroid form. I took it as a designer supplement called Halodrol. And, I mean, I took a bunch of it, and I got ripped and got really strong and everything. I was in aviation just like you. And my goal was I need to be in shape in case we go down. I need to be able to drag people. I mean, I worked on Chinooks, 32 people plus equipment.
Yeah.
I need to be the strongest here to drag people out. That was my goal. Mm-hmm. And when I got paralyzed and stuff like that, my body stopped functioning the way that normal people function. Mm-hmm. I couldn't sweat. I couldn't process fat deposits the same way. And that's where this drug was stored. So
it just stays there.
Yeah, it
dormant
stays.
almost.
Correct.
Okay.
And there was no real research on it because it's illegal. The drug is illegal. So they claim that they couldn't legally process it and inject it into people for studies and things like that, just, you know, ethics. So there was no real research other than what a Russian doctor had injected himself with it and then annotated data for 2 weeks prior or 2 weeks after and said, oh, yeah, it only lasts 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So we dug in, got some experts on the spinal cord injury side, got some other experts to weigh in on it. And, I mean, we took it full on and won the case.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, I got reinstated, started competing again, came out in full swing, man, went to Pan American Champs in 22 and won that. Then got into it in 23. And that's where the Paralympic qualification process started in 2023 in Pilsen, Czech Republic. And it started off with we could have qualified to go to Paris as a mixed team. So you guys have seen Tracy on the show. And actually, she came and did the show after training with me for a week. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She was brand new. So we go out to Pilsen and we shoot our match. And again, she's really new. It's her first big international tournament. We came up short. Didn't qualify as a mixed team. So I'm like, all right, I'll have to do this on my own. So I go and start shooting my individual matches. Dude, I lost by 1 point even though the guy that I was shooting against and myself, we put up the highest score across the field that day.
Can you paint the picture of what that competition actually looks like?
Yeah.
So those specific competitions.
Yep. So that was World Championships.
Okay.
And it's qualification for Paris. That's where slots are first offered, right? I shoot in the W1 division. And for the W1 division, there was only going to be 13 slots, period, across the world for Paris.
Okay.
At Pilsen, there was going to be 4 slots for men, 4 slots for women in W1 given through mixed teams. So you could earn it as a mixed team. And then you could earn another 2 slots individually. And that would mean that I would have to compete. There was 21 of us.
Okay.
I would have to go and do head-to-head matches. And our head-to-head matches consist of shooting 15 arrows for a max score of 150 points. And you do that, and it's single elimination. So
15 arrows.
Yeah.
What types of targets are you looking at?
So I'm shooting at 50 meters.
Okay.
And I'm shooting at an 80-centimeter target. And my target has scoring rings from 10 to 1.
Okay.
So basically what I'm shooting at, I'm trying to hit a 10 ring at 55 yards, 50 meters. That's about the size of a big gulp cup, maybe a little bit smaller. So I'm shooting at that thing from 55 yards away. We shoot it in 5 ends, and an end is a series, and we shoot 3 arrows at a time. So, for example, you and I are shooting an individual match, right? We'll shoot 3 arrows each. We have 2 minutes to shoot our 3 arrows. They'll go score, then we'll do it again. And we do that 5 times.
Okay.
And at the end of that, we get whoever's got the highest score obviously wins and goes on to the next one. And we're putting a bracket, kind of like March Madness. And we go all the way till you get to a semifinal. And then the semifinal decides who goes and shoots for gold and who goes and shoots for bronze.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how we were doing individual matches. And those 2 slots were going to be awarded to whoever won gold and silver. I got knocked out in that round by this Italian guy. And again, we just put up an insane score. He just got 1 point better than me. So there goes my chances, right?
Sure.
I come back and I kept on competing, but I started feeling like my elbow was screwed up. So finally convinced me to go to the VA and get it checked out. And I got a ultrasound done. I wound up having a torn RCL ligament and a torn ECL tendon in my elbow.
Wow.
And it sounds medical and whatnot, but basically it's tennis elbow with tears. So I couldn't extend my hand back without it hurting. I couldn't grip something without having extreme pain.
Yeah.
So I go and I see my doctor, and she says, "Look, you've got tears here and there, and if we don't get them taken care of now, it's going to rupture.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have surgery, and you're done for the year. You're done for Paris."
Sure.
So we did PRP injections where they take your blood, spin them, get the plasma platelets, put them back in, and it promotes healing. But she had to shut me down for 8 weeks. So she shuts me down for 8 weeks in a period of time where I had 10 weeks before I went to Chile for the Pan American Games. So I'm sitting at home doing nothing for 8 weeks thinking, I've got to train for this, and I can't.
Yeah.
I finally get cleared. I have 2 weeks to go. I practice a little bit, go down to Chile. I did great in my ranking round, my qualification, because we shoot a ranking round. We shoot 72 arrows for score, and whoever gets the highest obviously gets seeded number 1 all the way down to the last place. And that's how we get bracketed.
Okay.
So I did really well in qualification, and everybody's thinking I'm going to smoke this competition. I'm it. And I go and shoot my first match and get through it. I go to the gold match, and I just crumbled. I wasn't there mentally because I didn't trust my training. I had only practiced for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
My elbow was still hurting. I wasn't stable. Just a whole bunch of stuff going on, right? So I got crushed. I mean, bad. I lost by like 11 points, something like that. And as soon as I get out of that, I came home and I took a day, honestly, and just kind of reset myself. And I made 2 really important decisions. I found a good coach that was going to be able to travel with me. And I started working with a sports psychologist and a mental coach.
Okay.
And I said, you know what? I am going to dedicate just as much, if not more time to my mental training than I am to my physical training.
Interesting.
Because I can be at the best shooter, top shape, but if my mind is crumbling because of the pressure, it does me no good.
Absolutely.
So what is this? Is all coming out of pocket, right?
Yeah.
So you're investing in yourself. You're
Correct.
training.
Yeah.
You're obviously getting your coach that comes there.
Yeah.
Them paid for. So this gets expensive too.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of what I hear about Olympic athletes is the amount of investment you have to make to even get there is ridiculous.
You know, it's crazy. I recommend people. Somebody recommended this documentary for me to watch the other day. It's called The Weight of Gold. It's on HBO, and it's got all the Olympians, people that have won, and then they talk about what it takes to get there and the cost and how much people get paid. Because you look at Paralympians, you look at Olympians, and you think, oh, yeah, they're taken care of. It's very, very few. You've got the exceptions, like Michael Phelps was an exception because he was very popular. He fit the mold.
Yeah.
But then what happens when you don't perform? The sponsors drop you really quick.
Yeah.
And then you're back on your own. So, yeah, we're funding all these trips. We're funding everybody. For me, it was Dubai coming up in February of this year. Came home from Chile, got reset, and then Dubai comes around. So my trip was covered by my organization, by USA Archery, but I had to bring a caregiver and assistant, which is Courtney, my spouse. It's not that she babies me or anything, but it's good to have help, which allows me to perform better.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So she's there, and then I bring my coach Scott as well. So now I've got to pay for two people to be out there. So yeah, it's an investment.
Yeah.
And that's the way I looked at it. And I think looking at it as an investment made me appreciate it more.
Absolutely.
When you get skin in the game, it's that much more important. So you don't slack off. You're like, man, this is costing me, so I better do what I need to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I trained, and I did all my mental training, went out to Dubai. I did great. They were giving out the final 2 slots. And again, it was going to be done to the first and second place. So I get to that semifinal match to get into the gold medal match. And I started off strong. I'm winning the first 4 ends. I'm up by 2 points.
Nice.
Get to that last end, and I shot 3 great shots. I shot 3 9s. But the guy that I was competing against shot 3 10s. So there's a 3-point swing, and I lose by 1 again.
Man.
And, again, people were like, dude, you should just go home, pack it up, take a vacation, just stop shooting, let your head. And I said, no, you guys are nuts. I'm not doing that. I came home and doubled down on training.
Yeah.
Just hit it even harder. Went to Brazil in April, and I had to shoot a gold medal match against the same guy that beat me in Chile. And I won. And it just, it was one of those things where I beat him in Brazil. He's from Brazil. And I was like, okay, that's a little bit of payback.
That's a comeback. Right?
Yeah. But, at the same time, he's one of my good friends. So there's always that friendship there. But yeah,
What does that mental training look like?
Yeah.
it's top secret.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of exercises, and I share it with people. I'm one of those athletes that I want everybody to do well, because if I'm not competing against the best, it's not going to push me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not one of those people that feels like I'm training my competition. There's no secrets. So I did a lot of focus training, just a simple exercise. Like I would set a timer for 30 seconds and I'd put an apple on a table and I'd start looking at that apple while the timer's going and just, describe it in my head, think of things that were related to that apple and just focus on it. The moment my mind drifted somewhere else, I'd reset the clock and start again. And just kept on doing that. And when I was able to do it for 30 seconds, at least 2 or 3 times in a row, I'd bump it up to 45, bump it up to a minute, bump it up to a minute and a half. My goal was 2 minutes. Focus on an object for 2 minutes. I did that. I did a lot of positive reinforcement, subconscious training, where I would listen to things while I'm dozing off at night and just let them play. I would throw on some headphones and listen to it while I was asleep, and just all these little bits that were getting fed into my head. So when I finally get out to Paris, it all worked out, and I'll get there in a second, because the crazy part was come back from Dubai, and there was absolutely no more chances for me to qualify, right? Nothing. Again, I didn't give up. I just kept on training like I was going, and I always told myself that I would never stop until that first arrow was fired in Paris. Then I'd realize, okay, I missed my shot. Sure. I'm not going to go. Around June, Flag Day in June was just like the second week of June. I was out fishing in Corpus with a bunch of friends, and one of them, my friend Josue, who's in a chair as well, we're on the same boat and we're talking. He's like, hey, man, you tried really hard. Don't give up. He's like, you never know. Somebody might get hurt and they'll call you up.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I'm still going to train. That was on a Monday. Come home, go through the week, and that Friday I was talking to my coach. I was like, hey, we should get together and plan what tournaments we're going to go to next year and this and that. And he left the house, and about an hour later I got a message. It said, hey, man, did somebody put you in for one of those slots that they were giving away? I said, no, there was no possibility for me, this and that. He said, okay, well, just a heads up, there might be one coming up. I was like, what? He said, just letting you know. Okay. About 3 days later, I see a video on Facebook, and it was my friend Chris from Australia talking about how he blew out his rotator cuff, he's going to have surgery, and he can't go to Paris.
Oh, man.
At that point, my wheels started turning. I'm like, okay, he's going out. I'm the highest ranked archer without a slot. That's my slot.
Yeah.
Just, had nothing official. So we're sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. I think waited about 3 weeks. I was in Czech Republic at another international tournament. And on June 28th, I was sitting in the lobby. My wife and a friend, they had taken off to Poland. We're right on the border with Poland. They went to go see some church made out of human bones, something crazy. I didn't want to go. I was like, no, I'm just going to stay here in the lobby and hang out. And my phone rings, and it's USA Archery going, hey, Australia returned their slot. They gave it to us. It's yours. You're going to Paris.
Wow.
So,
dude.
Nice.
yeah, I snuck in by that. But at the same time, there were some people out there that were like, oh, yeah, they gave you a slot. I was like, no, they didn't. No. This time I actually could fight about it. I said, dude, I worked my ass off, got my ranking up, won everything that I went to. So that way, if that opportunity came up, then I would be in a position to go and get selected.
Yeah.
So
Case in point.
Yeah.
Just like it happened.
So, yeah, that's how I got into Paris. And when I got into Paris and started competing out there, that's where all that mental training came into play. Okay. And I could see and feel that it actually worked out. Mm-hmm. Even on the flight over there, I talked to the coach and I talked to Courtney, and I said, man, I'm at peace. I feel good. I trust my training because I trained really, really hard. I said, I don't think that I left anything behind. Like, everything's going to be okay. And if it's not, then so be it.
I mean, you got there.
Yeah.
And so can you talk about the difficulty of getting there, though? I'm sure getting to Paris, I mean, the whole logistics of that was extreme.
Insane.
Yeah,
it was a little bit.
The amount of people.
Oh, yeah. It was a little bit crazier for us on the Paris side.
Yes.
Because they have to make a lot more accommodations for us, The transportation has to be different for us than for able-bodied athletes, things like that. So we actually went out there a week early. We flew out August 20th, got there on the 21st. So we get to Paris. We flew out from JFK. We all met up at JFK, then caught a Delta flight over, get to Paris. We go into this holding area, and finally the buses arrived. And all these buses, once we get on, they're sealed. We're police escorted, go from the airport to the Olympic Village. That's where things got a little bit crazy at the Olympic Village, because now you're trying to put everybody in rooms where they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, I got put in a room with Courtney, my wife. She came as an assistant. We got really lucky and got her credentials to be an assistant. But we were in a room where we had 2 individual beds, but in between them, there was just enough room for my wheelchair to go in between the beds, but I couldn't turn around anywhere in the room. If I needed to back up to transfer, I had to exit the room, go into the little living area, turn around, come back in, and jump on the bed. But it wasn't terrible. The beds, everybody had this whole, they're made out of cardboard, and that, which they are. They're cardboard frames. The mattresses are 3D printed by a Japanese company, and they're adjustable. You go to this place, they take a picture of you and scan you, and they tell you how to flip the mattress to be the most comfortable for you. So, yeah, that was interesting. But we got lucky. The bathrooms were accommodated for us. The bathroom was actually bigger than our bedroom. Plenty of room. It was accessible. Had a roll-in shower.
Nice.
No issues with that.
No aircon?
We did. USOPC actually bought miniature air conditioners for everybody.
Nice.
So we used them for the first week that we were there, and then it got cool to the point where we would only use them during the day and shut them off at night. So we had that small AC. The chow hall was actually pretty cool. All the complaints about food and stuff like that, we didn't see them.
Okay.
There's also 6,000 less athletes in the Paralympics than there were in the Olympics.
Yeah.
But the food was good. The chocolate muffins were insane. That's what everybody was ranting about. I had 2 the whole time I was there. I limited myself.
Yeah.
2 muffins. Everything else was awesome. We had sports med. We had a big polyclinic. We got Amazon deliveries out there, which was pretty cool. If we needed something, I broke my screen protector like 3 times and ordered replacements. No issues. We had bakeries right outside the Olympic Village.
Bringing in some croissants.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, no. I didn't have one while I was out there.
Oh, really?
No, I had baguettes though.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you got to have some sort of
You got to
bread.
have a whole loaf of bread for breakfast.
My wife is French Canadian, so I
she's
deal with the French stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the food was great. The facilities were actually pretty well accommodated for para athletes. I think the only fight that I had while I was out there was a lot of us had attachments to our wheelchairs. They looked like little hand bikes. And when we'd go in the chow hall, they kept on making us take them off, which I would yell and be like, I don't speak French, and just take off because that's my mobility.
Yeah.
This chow hall was at least a quarter mile long.
They'd make you take off what?
Your mobility device, your little power wheel that you have. It's like a little hand bike in the front, right?
Yeah. Turns your manual wheelchair into
like a trike
scooter.
Yeah. And the reason why is because Toyota, they built 800 of these attachments for athletes that don't have them. So you have people that have never used them, and they're crashing into stuff left and right. So we're all suffering because of them, and we're like, no, sorry, man.
Yeah,
this is my mobility. How about you tell that guy to get off his power chair?
Yeah,
they're probably going to say no.
Absolutely.
So I'm not taking it off. I put my tray on my lap, and this is how I carry my food. I'm fine.
Sorry, no hablo.
Yeah, exactly. Or I just speak to him in Spanish. That's another thing. Yep. So yeah, that was my only complaint. But other than that, we had a big rec area where you go and just kind of disconnect. You get coffee. People that are coffee fanatics. We had a Costa Coffee sponsored the Paralympics. So we had a bunch of their little coffee shops. You could go to one at the rec center, get a picture printed on your coffee. Corona had a Corona Zero bar outside, and it was set up really nice for people. People were out there pounding Coronas like they were getting drunk. I'm like, dude, this tastes like crap. But
no alcohol.
Whatever. We'll give it a try.
Yeah.
No, it's just a bunch of really cool stuff. The experience of living in the village was awesome.
Yeah. And meeting people from all over the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you meet all these athletes that you've read about, that you've seen, athletes that before I got hurt, or right when I got hurt and I started looking into adaptive sports, I saw their pictures and their names and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And now you're rubbing elbows with them and just having a good time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the way that I would explain the Olympic Village is like being deployed, but living with the Air Force.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because the food is good.
You think that military experience made all the difference in the world for you?
Dude, 100%.
Because there is people that, there are athletes that are spoiled. We talked to Gabe about this earlier.
Yeah.
Is that they have everything kind of handed to them.
Oh, yeah.
and you have the chiropractor and the acupuncture and all the little amenities that go with it. So
Yeah.
you think that was a big thing too? Is just maybe there was a couple spoiled people there.
Yeah, you could tell. You can tell that the athletes, especially on the Olympic side, it's not that they're spoiled, but they're spoiled because they're millionaires.
Yeah.
The basketball team didn't stay at the Olympic Village. They rented their own hotel.
Really?
Yeah. All those people that are multi-million athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't gonna slum it.
In the village.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even some of the para athletes were like, nope, we're gonna go stay in the hotel. We're gonna go do this. I'm an archer in a sport that requires a lot of mental focus and a lot of zen, pretty much.
For sure.
Man, I was just having a blast.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I was enjoying
It's
everything.
the experience. right?
Exactly.
That's it.
And
Yeah.
again, the military life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had to tone it down because I've been to other events. Like when we went to Dubai, our room had mold in it, had black mold in it. And I was just like, yeah, whatever, I'll just suck it up.
Yeah.
My wife was like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We will.
You're not forced to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like, yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah.
I've had worse, right?
Is what it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think you could tell who was prior military because they were the ones that least complained about stuff.
Yeah.
You know, when the chow hall didn't have milk and people are freaking out because how are we going to eat our cereal? Well, we just don't eat cereal.
Yeah.
We eat something
Yeah.
else.
Eat eggs.
Yeah. To me, it was simple. I was like, I'm just going to right out to the there was literally a bakery outside the gate.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to roll out to the bakery. I'm going to grab a sandwich and a Red Bull or
Yeah.
a Coke or something. You know, if I can't I don't drink coffee. I get my caffeine from Coke, which is horrible, but whatever.
Gotta have a vice.
Exactly. So I'll just go out there and grab my stuff and then we'll roll, right?
Yeah.
And then you would see us too with punctuality, like on time is
Yeah.
late. So getting
Yeah.
there the
And
15
I'm
minutes
sure
early and
There
things
was
like
people
that.
late too.
Oh, there was people that would just get there on the dot. And for me, that's like, you're late.
Are you
Late.
seeing people like not taking it seriously, or is everybody kind of they're there? They know, hey, I'm competing. I know that
No.
some of these competitions, you hear stories about like these athletes who go in and they're just like they just get wrecked.
Yeah.
You know, just drinking a lot and going out and partying.
Well, the thing for us is alcohol is prohibited, right? It's prohibited on the village.
Sure.
And for archery, when I won, I got breathalyzed.
Yeah.
And if you have a hint of alcohol, you're done.
Well, it's performance enhancing.
Correct.
For your for archery. Right?
Yeah, but it's
for
prohibited by WADA while you're in competition. So no drinking at all while you're competing.
shooting. Sure. Yeah.
But you definitely have athletes that are I call them the picture perfect athletes, that they get there and that's their accomplishment is getting there. I took a picture. I'm here. You know, other people, you could tell that they were out there for social media clout.
Sure.
You know, that's all they cared about was taking videos and doing this and doing that and having that exposure instead of performing.
yeah.
Yeah. I took a handful of pictures. Most of the time was because my wife was like, hey, can you take a picture of this or I'm an in the moment kind of person where I
Yeah.
like to live in the moment and I'll save the memories in my head. And if somebody snaps a picture, cool. But, you know, to each their own. Especially with everything that I had gone through and what it cost me to get there.
Yeah.
I wasn't there to mess around.
For
You know,
sure.
I was there to compete and to take it serious. And I say that kind of loosely because we go back into, you know, we got there a week prior and we're training, we're doing stuff, and I'm training hard. I'm still training like I'm home, even though we're there. Two of my other archer friends were like, hey man, you don't have to shoot 100 arrows a day. I'm like, dude, I don't want to do anything different
Yeah.
than what I've done at home. So I want to maintain. We get to opening ceremony, and that was an amazing experience because it was on my birthday.
Oh yeah.
So I just kept on telling everybody that Paris was throwing me a birthday party, but they
Yeah,
had
right.
to legally call it an opening ceremony. So yeah, we went out there, did opening ceremony. It was awesome. I'm glad I did it. We took the early out. We didn't stay for the whole thing. We came back. We still got back to the village at around 11:30.
Okay.
Went and ate chow, went to bed, and I set an alarm for 2:00 in the morning because I'm a huge college football fan, and that was the first Longhorns game of the season, right? So I woke up at 2 a.m., watched like half of the game, watched them dominate the first half, and I was like, all right, cool. I'm going back to sleep because I got to get up and qualify in like 2.5 hours. So
You were committed.
yeah, I was
You were
committed. But that's me. I operate better on less sleep and less food. That's, my nutritionist hates it.
Yeah.
She's what'd you have for breakfast today? Water.
Water.
Like I'm
Yeah.
good.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I had
you
a
hungry for the
Coke.
win.
I had a Coke. I had a shot of protein, something like that. Just
Yeah.
little things, right? So I went and did a qualification. Did all right. I ranked 6th, which I was unhappy, but I was happy at the same time. I was unhappy because I made a couple of mistakes that cost me. I was 3 points away from ranking 3rd.
Oh, wow.
So it was that close. And I had it, but, just shit happens.
Yeah.
So I almost shot a pigeon, which made me shoot a 6. It was insane. And that just kind of derailed me because it's downtown Paris. There's birds flying everywhere and there's grass in front of us.
Yeah. Do
So
the old
they're
Randy
landing.
Johnson.
Yeah.
So I missed this pigeon literally by 6 inches.
Oh, shit,
And it
yeah.
freaked me out.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That would have made headlines for sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
Randy Johnson 2.0.
Yeah.
Nailed a bird mid-flight.
Somebody would have cooked it out there because they eat a lot of squab.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so I ranked 6th, and my buddy calls me. He's like, 6th place. You're in a good bracket. I said, good bracket, bro. Have you seen my bracket? He's like, yeah, let's check it out. We'll talk about it. So first match was against the guy from Brazil again, who I had just beat in Brazil. The second match, if I got through him, was against a guy that he's been to. This was his 5th Paralympics, and he's been a gold medal match the past 4. Won 2, lost 2.
Oh, wow.
And the 2 that he lost against guys that got reclassified into able-body or a division higher, a little bit more abilities. So he's King W1. He's the guy. And then the third match was going to be against the guy from Italy that took me out in Czech Republic.
So you know all these guys.
Every single one.
Yeah.
I mean, the 13 guys that were out there, we all know each other. We compete
Nice.
against each other every year. There's some of them that are really humble. Other guys are like kind of cocky and whatever. But, we have a good mix of everything. But yeah, when elimination day came, again, I stayed up a little bit later. Went to bed. I think I got like 4 hours of sleep. Got up in the morning, did my same routine, had a miniature Coke, and I think I had a cookie or something, and went out and started shooting. Got through that first match. That was a little bit more payback because I won by 15 points this time.
Nice.
And it just put me into a groove where I was like, I got this.
Yeah.
Like that was good. Okay. Our stadium was full. We had 8,000 people in the stands.
Wow.
Yeah, we were one of the first sports that was sold out
That's awesome.
before we even started the Paralympics.
How does that feel? Like when you're just
Mental training again.
I know.
This is where it came into play because
Yeah.
when I get out on that stage, I looked around and I saw everybody. I heard some familiar voices. I waved at people and whatnot, but when that buzzer rang, was a switch.
Yeah.
They didn't exist anymore. And it was just me. In my mind, I was picturing myself shooting in my driveway. Just,
Nice and quiet.
I can't blame anybody else. I can't blame the crowd.
Is that where you train? Is that where you do your 100 shots a day?
Yep. Either my driveway or if it's too windy, I go to the archery shop and I'll shoot in their parking lot because they have a little bit more cover.
Yeah.
And what's your yardage at that point? in the
Same
morning?
thing. 55 yards. Yep. That's my
100 shots.
No. It's 4 to 6 hours a day.
Okay.
So
Wow.
there was days where I was averaging 150. There's days where I was averaging 400.
Wow.
And it all depend on what I was feeling that day. If I had to work on technique, that was the high 400 day because I would sit at 5 meters and just dump arrows into a target and focus on my form. And until that became muscle memory, then I would go back out to 50 meters and shoot again.
Nice.
Or if I was shooting 50-meter matches, because I shot a lot of head-to-head matches with Courtney.
Yeah.
Coach had us compete against each other, and we went through 4 matches a day because that's what he wanted me to get in my head. You're going to go out there, your bracket is 13 people, you're going to shoot 4 matches from your first match to gold medal match. Let's do that every day. So 4 matches a day, and then we had a range. Like you've got to score between 137 to 142, and that'll get you a winning score in each match.
Okay.
And once I was achieving that without flinching, then I knew we were good. And that's where I was. That last week, every match that I shot, I was averaging 140, 141 points. So that's why I went out there with that peaceful mentality of, yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have that consistency
Exactly.
down. Yeah.
Yep. So when we're out there and, I'm looking at all these people, and then all of a sudden buzzer rings and back to just me and the target and just dumping arrows. And, then it's break time because we shoot the 3, they go score. We get about 5 minutes in between. So coach comes over, we talk, hey, this was good. Try this, do this, have a drink of water, stuff like that. Man, every interaction that I had with him was just playful. We were happy and like, hey, yeah, this is good, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then right before he left, he'd just give me a little hint that my coach here, because it's different. Our coach out there was the national coach. I didn't take the coach that I work with every day. They had to have a phone call and do a handoff. So that way, Jonathan, our national coach, knew what hints to give me and how to work with me and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then, so when we're interacting in between ends, he would give me a cue right before he left, and he'd just say, like, get in the zone. And what that meant for me was I take a break, close my eyes, visualize my next 3 shots, and visualize from loading to shooting and where the arrow is impacting. So a lot of visualization as well. And then, I had my eyes closed. I would hear the ref come by and say, you ready? Give her a thumbs up. And as soon as I'd open my eyes, it was that switch again, is ready to go.
Yeah.
And I just kept on going all the way. No nerves. Nerves were under control.
Nice,
I was just happy. I was enjoying it. I mean, I'm not a showman where I'm sitting there interacting with a crowd and doing stuff like that. I'm letting my actions interact with them. And it's just a good time. So once I got to the semifinal match, that was the toughest one, because if you win a semifinal, you go to gold, right? Which is awesome. That means you're going to go home with something, whether you win or lose.
Yeah.
But if you lose a semifinal, then you have to compete for bronze. And if you don't win that one, you go home empty-handed.
Nothing.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's really hard for both people because you're coming in from a loss, and you have to reset yourself to be able to win that bronze, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what I did not want. So I went out there and just, shot my butt off against the guy from Italy that took me out in Czech Republic, and I got through it and won. Nice. So after that, we go back to the call room, and I'm in 7th heaven, man. I'm excited. Yeah,
I bet.
because I went to Paris expecting a top 5 finish.
Okay.
That was it. No expectations of I'm going to win gold. I'm going to go do this. No, I just wanted to finish strong and show the world that I belong there. That I didn't get in because of a fluke. That just a little bit of validation.
Absolutely.
So when we're in the call room, I'm talking to Jonathan, and I said, dude, I can't believe this is happening. He's like, yeah, man, I never doubted you. Like, this is what you're here for. And I said, we're going home with something. He's like, yeah, whether you win or lose, you're going to bring something home on your first games.
Yeah.
And when he said whether you win or lose, that kind of stopped me in my tracks. And I looked at him and I said, no, screw this, bro. We didn't come all this way to go home with second.
Yeah.
And him and I had this saying that we developed a couple of years prior, and we always told each other, raise our flag, sing our song. And that's what we want people to do, raise the flag and let everybody hear the U.S. anthem to know that we won and we're above them. And I told him that. I said, raise our flag, hear our song. And he just smiled and said, let's go get it. So
Nice.
went out there, shot that match. I got behind on the first 2 ends. On the third one, I came back and tied it up. On the fourth one, I was ahead by 2 points going into that last 3 arrows. And those last 3 arrows were definitely the hardest. That's when the nerves hit me.
Yeah.
Because now I'm ahead, and it's mine to screw up, right?
The mental game at that point.
That's where it got really, really, really serious, right? And if you go back and watch that match, you can see, actually, if you watch from the beginning, all my movements are fluid, fast. There's no doubt or anything, but those last 3 arrows, and I bring my hand up to anchor in my face, and I'd sit there and shake a little bit. But I fired my first arrow, hit a 10. So I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm ahead by 3 points now. he shot his second arrow. That's where I got ahead by 3 points or 4 points. And I shot my second arrow, and I got in a rush. I shot a 7. So now I'm ahead by only 1, and I could hear it. The crowd was insane because they're all cheering and yelling my name. And I'm like, man, these French people really like me, or they really hate China. Like one of the two. I don't know, but it's got to be one. So they're all cheering and yelling at everything, right? When I hit that 7, all you hear is, "Oh," from everybody.
Oh, no.
And I looked at them and smiled, and I went, "It's okay."
Yeah.
And I looked at Jonathan, the coach, and said, "Hey, man, it's my fault. I rushed it.
Yeah.
Got in a little rush. No worries." Guy shoots an 8 on his final arrow, and I look up at the Jumbotron, and I see 8 to win. That means if I hit that first red ring or better, I win the match. And I took a breath, and I told myself, "You've been doing this all day. Just put it in the middle. You got this." Drew back, anchored, and I knew that as soon as my sight, my pin, touched the gold, I was going to punch that release and let that arrow fly. But I got lucky that as I drew back and anchored, I'm bringing my sight down, and I noticed there's a cloud of gnats flying in front of my bow, just sitting there. And I looked at them, and I said, "Don't breathe through your mouth. Don't breathe through your mouth, because you're going to suck these things in and choke on TV." And it was a split-second distraction. But when I get my eyes off the gnats, I look at my sight, and it's dead nuts in the middle. I was like, "Oh, that's where it needs to be." Pop, boop, and I hit a 10.
Oh,
Damn.
yes.
Yeah. So it was a blur to me right after the match. I got interviewed for like 2 hours, and people kept on asking me, "What went through your head that last arrow?" And it was a blur. I couldn't remember. But as time goes on, it all came back on everything, and I'm able to break it down, right? And I was just, that little distraction of gnats and the mental training that I had, all that subconscious reinforcement, it put my hands where they needed to be. And then when I looked, it was right there.
The muscle memory was there.
Yeah.
All I had to do is
Yeah. Boop. Yep. And when I heard him yell 10, dude, you talk about a rush.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was waterworks and everything.
And the crowd
Oh, the crowd was insane.
just lost their minds.
There's a video of Courtney in the stands yelling and screaming, and there's another friend that she works with the USOPC Ombuds, and she helped me through that whole suspension. She helped me get the legal counsel and everything, and she was there. You could hear her screaming and crying on there because it was a whole team effort. It's not just me. It takes an army to get there, right? And then being able to do that for everybody. Because I tell people all the time, when I throw that jersey on and that flag is on my arm, it's not me anymore. It's 360 million people that I have with me. As as popular or unpopular as archery is, I don't care. That flag is on my arm. I'm an ambassador. So when I got to the actual medal ceremony and everything, the first thing I asked was, "Can I salute the flag?" And the first question was like, "How come?" I said, "Well, I was military and this and that." And they go, "Absolutely, you go ahead and do it." And the cameras caught it, and it was a big deal because I was one of the first vets to win a gold out there and actually salute the flag like I did.
Nice.
And I got asked a lot of why I did that, and I said, well, number one is to honor my fallen brothers and sisters.
Sure.
Number two is to honor my service and our servicemen and women, right? And number three is because 360 million people just won gold. It wasn't just me.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. It was just an amazing experience. Yeah. But
So, I'm sure it was a blur because everybody just freaking came at you after that one.
yeah.
So, what did that night look like for you? I'm sure, did you celebrate to get yourself a...
No. It was, so the way that it worked was, as soon as I got done with that medal ceremony, there was people waiting for me for media. So I did media interviews and stuff like that for, about 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. And going back to my diet and routine, I hadn't eaten. I had only taken a couple sips of water because I didn't want my body to burn energy, my stomach to burn energy that I needed for shooting. I didn't want to overhydrate and have to go use the bathroom and just get out of whack. So I'm dehydrated, and I'm starting to get hypoglycemic because I don't have any food in me, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there eating an apple, and I got apple all up in my braces and stuff. And I'm trying to clean them out because NBC comes over. They're like, "Hey, can we do an interview with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, can you give me 5 seconds?" They're like, "Yeah, take them. You got 1 minute because it's going to be a live interview." I'm like, "Oh, crap." So I'm cleaning my mouth and everything. Did interviews with them, did interviews with a bunch of other media outlets. And then as soon as I was done with that, WADA's waiting for me to go do my my urine test. So I went and did that for another hour and a half. I didn't see Courtney or any of my friends for 4 hours after I was done.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like isolation.
Oh, yeah. It was
it's
crazy.
just the beginning of another process.
Yeah. So I get done with that, and I see Courtney. We hang out for a little bit. NBC comes back. They want to do an interview with both of us. Did that. And about an hour later, the compound open matches get to start that evening. And I had Matt Stutzman and Kevin Polish were the other two Americans that were competing. So we stayed and watched them.
Okay.
Kevin made it all the way to the quarterfinals, and he got knocked out. And then Matt Stutzman made it all the way to the gold medal match, and this dude wins gold shooting with his feet. He's got no arms, shoots with his feet.
Dude.
Just
incredible.
An amazing, amazing guy. He's also a professional race car driver.
With his feet.
With his feet. Yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
It's just resiliency, man.
Radical.
Yeah, I mean, you could get it done.
So
if you just put enough time in.
Yeah, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the first to shoot without arms, and now there's 11 in the whole world. There was 4 at the Paralympics, 4 armless archers because of him.
And then just like bend it over the back, huh?
Yeah, it's just crazy. He
That's
just
wild.
He picks up the bow with his foot, attaches it to a release that's hanging off his shoulder, leans back on a little stool, and lets it go. And the guy is insane.
Crazy is that?
Yeah. Yep.
Man.
Just ridiculous.
That's
but
wild. So you get to watch.
No,
some
we
of this.
stayed there and watched him all the way to the end. So match gets done. We load up on the bus at like 11:30 that night. Get back to the room at midnight. I jump into bed. I had to be up at 4 and get ready to go because I had a match the next day for mixed team with Tracy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
So you're all day.
Dude, it was crazy. But unfortunately, that mixed team match, I tried my best.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything left in the tank.
Sure.
I was completely expended. I was emotionally, physically, everything drained.
I bet.
Understandable.
So I went out there and shot the best I could. We lost against Italy, which was kind of cool for them because they made it to the bronze match and won. So I got to see the guy that I beat in the semifinals still go home with a medal.
Nice. Okay.
So you feel good for your friends,
Yeah, absolutely.
Wish I would have gotten 2, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, so we did that, and then that concluded my shooting. I was done. No more restrictions, no more nothing. That's like coming home and GO1 is no longer in effect.
Oh, yeah.
So I went and packed my bow. It was around noon, 12:30 that afternoon. Packed it up. I verified with the coaches, verified with an official. I said, "Hey, do I get in trouble if I go have a glass of champagne now?" They're like, "Nope, you're done. You're good."
Nice.
So Courtney and I rolled out. We're in downtown Paris, found a little cafe. She's like, "Well, what do you want to do to celebrate?" I was like, "I want snails and champagne."
Yeah. We're in Paris, baby.
Yeah, we had to try it. And I got hooked, man. It was good.
Was it?
It was
You liked
really
it?
good.
And it was a good way to kind of close out Paris, huh?
Yeah. No, once we got done with that evening we had a special presentation at the Team USA house. You get to go out there, you do some media stuff, but people that win a medal, we get to give a medal to somebody that means a lot, that has been with us, that mentor, things like that, right? Normally those medals go to coaches or stuff like that. I gave mine to my wife.
Yeah.
Because
Beautiful.
she's been there through thick and thin from the beginning, right?
Yeah, through everything.
And the coolest thing was she didn't expect it. She thought I was going to give it to my coach. She thought I was going to give it to someone else. And, I get on stage, do my little speech, and I turn around and say, "Hey, Courtney, this medal's for you." And, she comes on stage and gets it. So
That's awesome.
Yeah,
She
that
deserves it too.
Well
though.
deserved.
That was good.
Yeah, she's
100%.
She's amazing. She's
100%.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm
So-
sure she lost her mind.
Oh,
when
she
that
was,
happened.
yeah.
Yeah.
She was,
She's your number
she was a
one
little
fan, dude.
teary-eyed.
Yeah, by and far. Every time we interact with her, she's
Yeah. And all these things are online.
Oh,
that whole medal presentation,
Oh, nice.
all that stuff. Yeah, it's under the USA Archery website.
Okay.
On
Oh, great.
YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, stuff like that. So if people want to go and check them out, you can see my last shot. You can see her reactions. You can see the
That's
presentation of those medals.
Yeah.
All that stuff is online.
Yeah, I watched a few of your matches
Cool.
on USA Archery.
Yeah.
Dude, it's radical.
I know.
It's so cool.
It's an awesome experience.
Yeah. Oh,
And now you get to say you're a gold medalist.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
So right now,
going to space now or what?
yeah, right.
Shooting space?
What's next for you?
Underwater archery.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
No, I've honestly, and this is the best platform to do it because we talk about recovery and resiliency here. Just making sure my mental health is good because of everything that I've gone through.
Yeah.
And all the stress and all that I've done to reach that pinnacle.
Yeah.
And then what happens when you reach it? You get that post-Olympic drop and you get the blues and depression afterwards because
sure.
what do you do now, right? And I've reached out and talked to people about it and gotten some good advice, and now I'm back to training. I signed up for a tournament. I leave on November 1st. I'm going to Mexico to go shoot.
Nice.
Just keep it going.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
Rolling with
So I've
it.
got World Championships next year in September
Nice.
in South Korea. So
Okay.
I've never won a World Championship. I've never placed higher than 9th in a World Championship.
All right.
So guess what's on my bucket list?
Dude.
Nice.
To go and do well in a World Championship.
Yeah, more goals to tackle.
And I mean, seems like it has been inspiring you to kind of dive a little bit more into the physical therapy journey,
Oh,
the
yeah.
mental health stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, even our conversations for the last couple episodes, the way you kind of talk and carry yourself has changed.
Yeah. Yeah, the one thing that I've noticed is I've got to get out of my shell.
Yeah.
Along with this, I just wanted to go and shoot and win or just go do well, right? But it came with a lot of exposure and a lot of notoriety where people recognize me, things like that. I'm getting asked to go do speeches and public
Nice.
speaking, stuff that I'm not comfortable with, right? I don't know. People say that I'm good when I actually start talking, but I don't like speaking to crowds and things like that.
Yeah.
What's turned around is I find that if I can inspire someone to do something, or if I can breathe a little bit of hope into someone that's going through a rough time, it's worth it.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Work with a lot of kids with disabilities, and becoming a role model for them is more than I could ever dream of. It's one of the biggest honors, right? To inspire kids to want to follow in your footsteps or my wheel steps, my wheel rolls.
Wheel steps.
Wheel tracks.
Yeah. I get to, I've gotten to speak to a lot of news outlets from back home, from South Texas and the Valley. And it's awesome because a lot of the people down there are forgotten. There's not a lot of exposure down there. People kind of live in their own little world and do their own thing. But even people that retire or have injuries out of the military and stuff, they don't get exposed to a lot of this stuff. So if I can shed a little bit of light, get them off the couch, get them off drugs, get them off alcohol, something, just do something with your life that's going to be fruitful to you or self-fulfilling, give you a new purpose. Before you do something that, is going to hurt everybody else.
Yeah.
Or, just sit there and rot away. So that's the stuff that I've been dealing with for the last month and a half, just being busy, talking and doing stuff. But,
And it's good, and it's probably helping you, like that. We call that exposure therapy, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of doing something that maybe is not the most comfortable, but it definitely pushes you in the right direction.
Absolutely. Gets me out of that comfort zone.
For sure.
And definitely opens me up to new things. That's one less fear I gotta worry about in life.
Yeah. And you've seen the results now.
Exactly.
Like what happens when you continue doing that? Well,
Yeah. Get better at it.
yeah, some pretty good opportunities present themselves
Yeah.
when you continue to get better and better at it.
Yeah. No, it's been a really, really awesome post-Olympic journey. I've gotten to travel to do a couple really cool things. I went up to Wisconsin to watch my first NFL game. Again, being a sport nut, I got to go up there and see the Packers play.
Nice.
I've befriended one of their players, so he gave Courtney and I a tour of the facility and saw a lot of cool things that a lot of people wish they could go down there and do. And
Absolutely.
And when I look back at it, I'm like, man, that's a really cool thing that I've been able to experience now. So
And it's probably
Embrace
something when you were first dealing with your, injury, you're not thinking that you're going to gold, right? So
Oh, yeah.
all of these steps, all these decisions you made to kind of push those boundaries and those limits, and here you are, inspiring others. So what would be something that you would tell someone who's considering maybe getting into archery or, going for Olympics or whatever it is?
Yeah.
What's something that you would tell them?
So I've had a couple people reach out to me, honestly, and some of the answers aren't going to be what people want, because I always ask them, what is your goal? What do you want to do with this? Right? Everybody's got that dream, but not everybody's got the drive. So it's very important to figure that out at the beginning and save people heartache and save people money, because again, it's not cheap. It's not something that just anybody can do. I'm very blessed and fortunate that I have a retirement and I have a source of income, and there's other things that are available for me that allow me to compete. But not everybody has that. So I try and talk to them about, number one, finding the right sport, finding something that fits them and not them being forced into something, because I can preach archery to you until I turn blue in the face, but you might be one hell of a rifle shooter. You can do air rifles better than anything. You could probably do swimming. You could do track and field. You can do all these things out there, right? So find the sport that best suits you. And then, make sure that you go through the classification process so that makes you eligible to compete in the sport. If your goal and dream is to go to the Paralympics or do any of that, understand that sport is going to become your life. It's going to become everything you do in order to be competitive.
Oh, yeah.
And because you've got to compete against the people here in the country just to be at the top to earn that spot. And then you have to go and compete against the best in the world.
Yep.
So if your goal is to go win, you're going to eat, breathe, and sleep your sport for the next 4 years of your life.
For sure.
If your goal is to go out there and just say, I'm here, guess what? You're still going to eat, breathe, and sleep this sport just so you get the slot and then get the ranking. If it's an individual sport, you get the ranking to go. Yeah. If it's a team sport, then obviously you've got to go as a team. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of work, but it's very, very fulfilling. It gives you a new drive, especially for us being military. I came from a job where I was a platoon sergeant. I was a flight crew instructor. I had a very, very fulfilling career where I had a lot of drive, a lot of purpose, a lot of responsibility. And when I got injured and I got retired, for a second there, I was lost because now I don't have anything.
Yeah.
When I found archery, I had a new drive.
Re-inspired.
Yeah.
New passion.
And I remember going to the archery shop for the first time, and the owner, Scott, was like, hey, what do you want to do with archery? I said, I want to go to the Paralympics. And he looked at me and he kind of smirked and said, yeah, okay. I've heard that plenty of times. And, I showed him that I had the drive for it. Yeah. So I had a new purpose, but at the same time, I sought out responsibility, working with kids, working with other wounded vets, things like that. Things that fulfill you. Not everybody does it. And my last 4 years, I stopped coaching a lot because I needed to focus on me. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of work. There's going to be a lot of sacrifice when your friends are out, going and doing stuff. You're training.
Yeah.
When the wife wants to go on vacation, you're training.
Yeah.
So our vacations were archery related. We're going somewhere. Guess what? While we're there, we're going to go and sightsee and do stuff. But the primary focus was competition.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So yeah, it's tough.
It's a lot, but look where you're at.
Exactly.
And a newfound passion. A lot of people don't even have one, and you've had multiple. So
no, the reward is definitely worth the sacrifice, in my opinion.
Sure.
Beautiful.
Because no matter what you do now, your name's inscripted in history.
Forever.
They'll never take that away from you.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about earlier, Paralympics and Olympics, they're similar but different. And there's a big misconception, I try and very politely correct people because they'll call me an Olympian, and I said, no, I'm not an Olympian. I'm a Paralympian. And it's a big deal because we have our own brand. We, being a Paralympian, I'm going to say this and people can criticize or whatever, I think it's harder than being an Olympian because Paralympians are injured and you have to deal with your injuries before you even deal with your sport.
Yeah.
I get out of bed, I drag myself out of bed every morning, whether I'm feeling good or bad. I have to deal with this wheelchair. I have to deal with all the obstacles that I have, and then go train.
Yeah.
You know, and you deal with all that stuff. So I always look at Paralympians as superheroes. Olympians are awesome athletes, but we're the superheroes, right? And Paralympians are the only ones that can also be an Olympian. An Olympian cannot be a Paralympian because obviously they don't have any disability or any injuries or anything like that. But there's multiple people that have gone from Paralympics to Olympics and done both. So again, superheroes.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible
and
stuff.
that's something that will never be taken away from you when you get there.
Yeah.
So I challenge people to give it their best and give it a try and come at me, bro.
Well, that's
I'm
it.
here. You too.
You showcase the world. Jason Tabansky, Paralympic gold medalist. Thanks for being on the show and sharing your experience with that. It's incredible. We love having you on the show. Once again, your resiliency and ability to push through and show triumph in the face of adversity is incredible. So glad to have you on, brother.
No, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
Sorry I talked the whole show, but
That's the whole point of a podcast.
I hope I got it. I hope we got the message out there.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. People want to hear from you, not from us.
That's the experience. Yeah, that's the experience, man. And it's few and far between as well.
Yeah.
So well earned and well deserved. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're an inspiration, my friend.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. This has been the Medevac podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks very much for joining today. I told you were going to get something out of this episode. How fucking cool is that?
Dope.
Yeah. Interact with the content somehow. Hit us up on the socials or at medevacpodcast.com. You know where to find us. See you next week.
See you next time.
Bye.